Guys, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty confident that most people are not exactly fans of a historically accurate medieval lesbian, non-conformist, non-binary, they-them knight simulator scissor experience. I have a feeling that most people are not exactly going to be super supportive of this. Now, granted, the 100k wish lists that should translate into players, right, boys? Right? Am I right? I think I'm right on that one. And roughly maybe 5 real people playing the demo. It's not a good sign for this absolute disaster. I don't think it's gonna lead to good things. Well, that's what you get when you literally make a game because some other people said, "Oh, we're gonna make a medieval game, and we're not gonna make it woke." And then you got your panties in a knot, and you were like, "How dare you not do that? We're gonna do the opposite as you say, because Knight's Path is the reason that this garbage exists." Hilarious. At this point, by the way, the idea that people are using gaming as a money laundering tactic seems to become just more believable by the day. Because the fact that someone unironically made this and is thinking, yeah, this is gonna make us money. Yeah, this is gonna be good. This is gonna GTA 6 move over. Crimson Desert, who even heard of that one? Yeah, it really does seem that this is probably some kind of money laundering scheme at this point. Because why else would you ever make anything like this, right?
You know, pride is a poor substitute for intelligence, and never was that made more clear to me than a couple of days ago.
What is happening here? What is this? This is the worst thing I have seen since sliced bread. This is abysmal.
With the disastrous rollout of 1348 Ex Voto, a medieval combat RPG where you take control of a young woman named Aita, a knight.
Yeah, a knight.
Sure, a knight, on a quest to save her closest one. And her closest
Well, in the medieval times, they had invented scissors, so, very progressive.
one just so happens to be a woman as well. I mean, I'm using that term pretty loosely in this case, but,
Makes sense.
I wonder what they could be hinting at there.
Put a chick in it and make her name it gay!
Because truly, nothing screams believable.
Wow, I absolutely love the attention to detail. Like the HP bar that's not even red. I'm sure the HP bar is not red because they're breaking expectations and molds and whatnot. Ah, truly, so ahead of their time. Okay, boys, you may laugh now about Ex Voto, whatever. But mark my words, 10 years later down the line, it's gonna be a cult classic. It's gonna be like Hellblade Senua's. Oh. That one was kind of shit, wasn't it? Oof. Okay, maybe it's not gonna be like that. Maybe it's gonna be Spider-Man. Nope, no, Spider-Man 2 was also a disaster. Okay, I'm out of options, but I'm sure there is one. Okay, I'm sure there is one.
Medieval experience, like watching a 90-pound lesbian with a bowl cut and possibly a couple of missing chromosomes who's somehow able to trudge.
Just a couple? I think she's actually overcompensating on the chromosomes. Okay, she's catching them all. Holy, she's actually a Pokemon trainer.
Around in full plate armor that probably weighs more than she does and take down men twice her size and weight in hand-to-hand combat. I'm tired.
Plate armor is pretty redundant, I'm not gonna lie, but you refuse to wear a helmet.
I'm tired, boss. Now, a game like this from an indie developer probably would have come and gone with about as much impact as.
Also, she definitely has to be extremely autistic because she's not even wearing plate armor. She's like wearing bits and pieces of plate armor. Like, she lost the glove. She doesn't have the helmet. Well, the developers probably are not going to give her a helmet because who wouldn't want to look at this? I would not like to look at this. Thank you.
Impact as a left.
They should at least have an option: put helmet on or off, and it should be default on, and then it should ask you 2 times: are you sure you want to remove it?
hook from Bella Ramsey were it not for the developers' decision to pit themselves directly against another game in the very same genre. A game that was getting a lot of positive reactions from the target audience. That game in question was Knight's Path, which made the headlines a couple of weeks ago after the dev team
Yep, this thing is actually real and based on medieval
made the
combat.
wild and crazy decision to cater to the vast majority of the human race instead of trying to cram the message into a setting where it absolutely wasn't needed or wanted.
Now, granted, the medieval peasantry did love their executions, witch burnings, and all of that stuff, so arguably, this was kind of wanted a little bit.
Well, clearly that shit was not going to stand, especially...
Also, by the way, this is supposed to be like, historically accurate combat or something like that. Again, not a professional in historically accurate medieval combat by any means, but again, anytime you do something as autistic as in, like, Bleach or Naruto, like, swing your sword from the back like this, you pretty much always die. Because... The logic is simple, right? If this is your sword and you're supposed to defend it, you're swinging it back, your opponent can literally just do this. Boop, boop, boop. Not a lot more necessary, honestly, for steel to, you know, carve up that, weak flesh. Maybe the Mechanicus was onto something.
Shit was not going to stand, especially since 1348 is all about the message. And if there's one thing purveyors of stuff like that absolutely can't stand, it's being told no. So naturally they...
Also, boys, by the way, I want you to leave in the comments your bets, okay? How long do you think you're gonna be able to play 1348 Ex Voto without encountering another lesbian or gay person? Okay, and that's obviously ignoring the first other character that's that. How long do you think you're gonna walk around the world and not encounter one?
They did the smart thing and threw themselves headfirst into the controversy and took a very obvious swipe at Knight's Path in the process.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Indeed, they'd well and truly hoisted their colours and they were gambling everything that a modern audience would show up to support them. So let's see how their demo's doing on the Steam chart, shall we? Oh,
I don't understand a thing about... Again, this has to be money laundering, right? What else could it honestly be? Because the modern audience has been called for. The banners have been raised for literally like a decade for it. And it never comes. It's never there. And yet these games that are like, the modern audience is surely gonna heed the call of Rohan this time. No, they don't. No, they don't.
Dear. So, the game reached an all-time peak audience of 167 people. Are you seriously telling me that gamers weren't excited to step into the shoes of this gorgeous heroine?
A mystery, truly.
Do you mean to imply that they weren't thrilled at the prospect of 2026 gender and sexual politics awkwardly crammed into a medieval combat game? Are you suggesting that the modern audience is a fucking myth and that trying to pander to them is the commercial equivalent of lighting a big pile of money on fire? I mean, golly gee whiz, it's almost like the games industry just refuses to see reality, no matter how hard it hits them in the face. So, in case you're feeling particularly retarded today, allow me to furnish you with a few unpleasant truths.
I am very autistic. This does sound up my alley.
1. The modern audience that you're searching for doesn't exist, and even if it did, it wouldn't support your game because it doesn't care about your game. It cares.
Now, the modern audience does exist. This is a myth that they don't exist. I joke about that also, but you need to understand, the modern audience maybe is just like 10,000 gamers in total or something like that. They do show up sometimes when it's like, you know, south of midnight or, you know, equally shitty games. And all their votes usually amounts to maybe 1k concurrent players. And that's what it is.
Cares about looking good, not actually doing anything good. 2. Gamers are not interested in the message. They never were, and over the years, that lack of interest has evolved from indifference into genuine antagonism. And it doesn't matter how much you try to guilt trip or browbeat them into it, they will never come around because they've been burned way too many times. 3. Humans don't like ugly people. Sorry, but that's just a fact. There's a
Lefties do like ugly people.
reason that most actors, models, and celebrities are conventionally good looking. We like looking at attractive people, and we naturally gravitate towards them.
Halo effect? Never heard of it.
If I want to look at some ugly fucker, there's plenty of mirrors in my house. Nobody is interested in looking at a skinny, androgynous teenager with shit hair for the better part of 50 hours.
He's not.
Androgynous is, being kind of nice here, not gonna lie.
Maybe, but true they are. Heed them and ye shall prosper. Heed them not and ye shall surely fail. My suggestion? Choose fucking wisely. Anyway,
that was the Critical Gamer. Yeah, never heard of him before. Anyway, 10 out of 10. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.